Hi, I'm Bill Attardi, and this is Learners Live. As you can see, we've done 12 sessions this year, and this is number 12 in December. So the first thing I have to do is wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. It's December and 2025 is almost over. Where did it go? Anyway, this session will be posted on Learners Live as well as YouTube, my YouTube account. So this is what we've been doing all year. And I have to say that all I can do is share what I know after many, many years in the lighting industry and teaching graduate and undergraduate classes at Monmouth University. And my hope is that you learn something from these sessions. As I said, this session is going to be on just 3 things to remember if you want to give a dynamic, really, really good presentation. But first, let me share this with you.
My grandma says there are only 2 things in life that you worry about, whether you're healthy or whether you're sick. If you're healthy, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you're sick, you got 2 things to worry about. Whether you're going to get better, whether you're going to get worse. You get better, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you get worse, you got 2 things to worry about. Whether you're going to live, or whether you're going to die. If you live, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you die, you got 2 things. Whether you're going to heaven, whether you're going to hell. If you go to heaven, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you go to hell, you got 2 things to worry about. Original or extra crispy?
That's pretty funny, I think. And when you think about that, when you give a presentation, in a way, you have 2 things to worry about. Number 1 is whether you win or whether you lose. Those are the 2 things you worry about, whether you win or whether you lose. If you win, you got nothing to worry about, right? And if you lose, well, you really don't have anything to worry about when you lose either, because I guarantee you that you'll always get another chance to give a presentation. But in order for you to be and do a good presentation, you got to do certain things. And that's what this session is all about. My recommendation, if you want to give a good dynamic presentation every time you're asked to do that, you got to do these 3 things. Number 1, you got to have a creative opening. That's the first impression you give your audience. And then you got to work hard at putting together meaningful content, because that's what you're sharing. You're sharing what you know to your audience. And then you got to give that last impression. I call it the compelling close. Those are the 3 things I think you need to remember if you want to give a good presentation. And as you can see by this visual, this is the ideal setup in order to give a good presentation. You can see the screen is on the left of the speaker and the laptop is right in front of him. He never has to turn his head away from the audience. He can maintain eye contact with everybody in his audience and occasionally can look down at his computer, his laptop, in order to follow what he was talking about. This is an ideal setup. Number 1, you owe your audience a good performance. I hope you think that and have that particular attitude every single time you're asked to give a presentation. And if you do, you know that that's directly related to your preparation. There's no easy answer here, and I'm not going to give you an easy answer. There's hard work in putting together a good presentation, especially if you want people to learn something, to listen, and to pay attention to what you have to say. Let me share a story with you with one of the Hall of Fame New York Giants. His name was Sam Huff. Maybe some of you remember Sam. He really defined the middle linebacker position. And when he played against the Cleveland Browns, there was a running back by the name of Jimmy Brown, maybe the greatest of all time. And I think Sam used to say that the only objective he had when he played against Cleveland was to stop Jimmy Brown. Well, when Sam was inducted into the Hall of Fame himself, he was asked about whether he would miss playing football. And here's what he said: I love playing football. They don't pay me for the games on Sunday. They pay me for the practices during the week. The practices, the preparation, the getting ready for the game during the week. That's the hard part. And that's what I'm going to be talking to you about, the preparation side. You have an obligation when you're preparing your presentation to think about engaging I call it the customer. The audience really is your customer. Engage your audience. Try to entertain them in some way so that they pay attention. And inform and persuade. Those are the elements that you need to concentrate on when you're asked to give a presentation. And these are the three things that you have to do. But here's what I did. I changed the order. I created the close first. I put compelling close, the number one thing you need to do, and to do it first, okay? And let me explain why I mean that. You all have navigation systems, whether it's in your phone or in the car, whether you use Wave or Google or any navigation system. It all does the same thing. It gets you where you want to go. You put in the destination. The destination, that's the close. That's where you want to take your audience. And then it navigates the entire content of where you want to go. It has a starting point. It lays every single direction that you need. You make a left here, you make a right there, you go down 5 miles, you make another left, on and on. It organizes the entire route for you, step by step, and you arrive safe and sound at your location. Well, that's where you want to start when it comes to giving a presentation. Another suggestion is the close, and that's what we're on right now, the close. Never, ever close on someone else's question, Think about that. There's really two options that you have when you give a presentation. You can ask for questions during the presentation, and if you have the time, that's a good way to do it, but that takes more time. Or you can ask for them to save their questions until the end of your presentation. And when that happens, and you ask and you're asked questions, never ever close on a question you can't answer. That's the worst close you can think of. If there's a question that you can't answer, what are you going to say? I'll get back to you. Thank you for showing up. Okay. Anyway, so how do you do that? How do you never, ever close on someone else's question? A very simple statement. Before I close, are there any other questions? Before I close, are there any other questions? What you're basically saying to the audience is, I'm not closing on that guy's question because I don't know the answer. So I've got a few slides that I want to show you. That's what you're basically communicating to the audience. So that means you have to go to your closing slides, and they must be the last impression slides that you want to leave your audience. So let's talk about the close. Before I close, are there any questions? Again, I'm making a recommendation that if you're going to give a presentation, start with the close. And here are some examples of a close. It could be a summary slide. This has nothing to do with this presentation, but it's a summary slide. If you're talking about artificial intelligence, you may want to summarize 1, 2, 3, 4 points that you made throughout the presentation that you want your audience to remember. this is a good summary slide where you say, these are the three things I'd like you to remember based on the presentation, and you might want to leave them with a simple statement based on what you just discussed. Again, if you're talking to a bunch of managers and you're talking about inspirational leadership, you may want to close with this summary slide, which is to set the goals and the opportunities. You're communicating to them what the essence of your presentation was all about. And as you can see, the last comment is to grow others. And you may want to give more impact to that statement by quoting somebody that, and you all know Jack Welch from General Electric, a CEO that was voted the executive of the century in the 20th century. And I had a chance to meet Jack Welch on occasion. And what he said is, before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others. That reinforces your summary slide. Quotes are very, very good for ending a particular presentation. You've got sources of quotes from famous, many people that you can follow. This is one from Mahatma Gandhi. Live as if you were to die tomorrow, but learn as if you were lived forever. I start my classes with this because I want them to learn. Of course, Mark Twain is an excellent individual to quote. Plan for your future because that's where you're going to spend the rest of your life. Basically, your close, again, I'm still on the close. The close is the call to action. Work hard to get better. When you stop getting better, you stop being good. That could be the call to action to your audience. If you're talking about the digital age and high technologies, you may want to start with the last impression slide that looks like this, a powerful visual that says it's just the beginning of what we're going to see in technology. And you may want to close with this particular slide that says a pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change, and the realist adjusts the sails. It's time for you to adjust the sails. And that could be a very powerful closing slide. Okay, let's talk about the content. This is the meat, the essence of your presentation. And when you get up in front of a group, look like you're in charge. Look like you're the one that they've come to hear and to listen to and to learn from. The first thing you got to do when you're preparing your content is to do the necessary research. That's the hard work. And that's internal as well as external. You have a lot of internal information that you own, that you have either in your computer or in your head, but you should also do some external to verify those particular points that you want to leave with your audience. And use the visuals. Use visuals wherever you can. That's the universal language. Everybody understands visuals. Use color wherever you can. And very important, use font size that people can see. You don't want them straining to see what you have to, what you're talking about on the screen. It's called the 6x6 rule. Use visuals with the 6x6 rule. This slide right now is 6x6. That's 6 words across and 6 words down. Try not to make your slides too cumbersome, too much information. People cannot read everything on a multi slide and listen to you at the same time. Promote interaction throughout if you can, okay? Share what you know. And help is on the way, folks. AI is there for you to use. It's the most powerful learning tool ever created. And it should be a tool, not a crutch. Don't let them do all the work for you. Just use it as a tool because it can make you smarter. It strengthens your oral communication skills, helps you with your critical thinking, and also your public speaking. Think of it as your personal writing tutor. Improve writing skills with every single draft. Every time you have to do a write-up or a draft or a presentation, AI can help you improve that particular writing skill. increases your competency. And when you increase your competency, you boost your confidence. And that's what you need to give a good presentation. And you're familiar with all the generative AI platforms that are available. I happen to use AI, the Grok, Gemini, Chat, and Copilot. Those are the four that I use all the time. And I also understand, and I've looked at some of the others like Llama and Apple and Bedrock and Claude. It's, again, the most powerful learning tool ever created. If you're not using it, shame on you. You've got to start using it. And if you do use it, I think this is the way to use it. This is the most effective way to use artificial intelligence. You write it and prompt AI to fine-tune it. And this is another session on Learners Live and on YouTube, okay? So you can go to that, and I go through it in detail how to use AI. But number one, you prepare your content as though Gen AI does not, see, I'm in the lighting business. Gen Light, as you know, Gen AI does not exist, okay? That's when you start your presentation, your write-up. Use your own critical thinking and analytical skills. Create your own slides and the write-up. I call it original thought. That's how you start. Whenever you put a presentation together, do it on your own with your own content. And then feed it into Gen AI. Upload your slides and your write-up. First your write-up and then your slides, whatever you want. You've got lots of AI opportunities to bounce it off of, and prompt AI the right way to analyze your work. Identify any problems, misunderstandings, maybe they can give you some solutions to some of the thoughts that you have. Are there any other issues to be considered? Ask AI to help you pull it together. And then when you get it back, this is where you have to edit. You have to evaluate what you got back for accuracy, usefulness, and more importantly, for value. Does it have any value for what you're trying to communicate to your audience, okay? Think of it as a partner to help you rework your presentation so it's as good as it can possibly be. And always look for ways to encourage engagement, interaction with your audience. That's always very effective. I wish I could engage and interact with everyone that's listening to this presentation. Unfortunately, when you do it on tape, you can't do that. But when you're in a live audience, you should try to engage and interact with your audience. So this is your organize. This is what you should be doing in order to put together an effective presentation. You've got to keep first your audience in mind. Always, always keep who you're speaking to. And then start with the creative opening. That's your first impression. Work on your content. It must have a good flow, logical, interactive order. Prepare good questions throughout so you can interact with your audience. And use visuals as well as verbal, because images have power. If you can use humor, that's always very effective. You want to make a connection with the audience, and the best way to connect to any audience, to anybody, is when you can make them laugh or smile. Be careful with off-color or crude humor. Decide what videos you'd like to use. Videos are very good for the creative opening or the compelling close. Decide if you want some questions that you want to ask, and then use the power of PowerPoint. PowerPoint's a very strong a software program that can really make your presentation very powerful. And your compelling close. Again, I recommend that you start with your creative close. That's the destination you want to take everybody. Creative opening. That's your first impression, okay? When you go to church, you may have a pastor that is very good at doing a creative opening. He may start by saying, "You're all going to hell. And unless you do these 5 things, you're all going to hell." I think you're going to pay attention to that pastor, right? Well, anyway, the way you start your opening, it's always, who are you? And there's 2 ways to do that. You can do it formally or informally. If formally, if you're talking to a large group, a big audience, you may have somebody introduce you and give you the qualifications of why they ask you to give the presentation. Or it could be an informal, you introduce yourself, or maybe you know the group and there's no introduction necessary. Anyway, that's the opening that takes place. And then you got to think and you got to have an attitude. Will you be worth listening to? Will you be worth listening to? And you want them to pay attention. And if they're going to pay attention, it's really up to you. A creative opening sets the stage for what they want, why they're there. Think about the why. Why are people there listening to you? Remember, their time is precious, so don't waste them. They want to learn something from you. That's why they're there. And the opening is your emotional connection to your audience. Think about that. Your emotional connection to your audience. You're in front of that audience. They came to hear you, and you have to make that connection. Wow. This is what you want them to think as they listen to your creative opening. Wow, I'm really going to enjoy this. If they get that impression, you're on your way to making that connection to that particular audience. Let me show you a connection. This is an intense connection. This is the connection between Michael Jordan, when he was a student athlete at North Carolina, with his coach, Hall of Famer Dean Smith. You think maybe Michael Jackson was paying attention to what his coach was saying? I think this is what learning is all about. This is what he did before he became the greatest of all time, I guess. Learning is intense. And this is a good example of that kind of learning. Okay, it's Sunday. You did the work, you put it all together, and now someone gave you a microphone, and now you're on. Introduce yourself, as I said. You got to do a creative opening, meaningful content, and that content, think about sharing what you know with others. That's why they're there. They're there because you have established credibility with that audience, and now it's time for you to share what you know with others. Start with the slides that, with thought starters. I call them original thought starter slides. Say more than you show. You don't want people reading slides. You want them to just capture what the thoughts are, and then you explain exactly what you're speaking about. Organizational flow, make sure it has good transitions from one slide to the other. It's an interactive conversation that you're having with your audience. So connect with your audience. It's your customer. And as I said, you can decide how you want to handle questions and answers. And then the compelling close. That's your last impression, and you need to make that as powerful as possible. Think of it as a performance. You're asked to give a performance, and that means you owe them a good performance, hopefully a wow performance. Optimize your own individual personal style, develop good habits, try to eliminate verbal distractions. You're going to make mistakes as you go along, but that's okay. People pay attention. People know that you're not going to give a perfect presentation. You want to give a good, effective, dynamic presentation. And you got to do these three things, and I've stressed them over and over again. Test your speaking communication skills, be clear, have confidence in your material, and the one thing that, as I said, learning is a continuing lifelong experience. Commit yourself to improve. Before I close, are there any questions? Let me give you some examples of what I'm closing this presentation with examples of what I call creative video openings. Creative video openings. Here's 5 examples. The first one, if you're talking about social media, this is a very powerful, I'm not going to show these. I'm just going to point them out to you, and you can click on them and you can look at them whenever you have the time. Jim Vanderhee he's the CEO of Axios, gave an excellent interview about really the death of traditional media. And that's something you should click on and listen to if that's your subject. Again, it's got to tie to your subject. The subject here is the second subject is setting extreme objectives. And you may want to show the video of these two guys jumping off a mountain and being caught by a plane, jumping into a plane. That's a Red Bull video, by the way. Or maybe your subject number 3 is competency takes time and hard work. Maybe that's your subject. And you can start with a video that I use in all my classes, beginning classes, and that's a surfer riding 100-foot wave. He didn't get in the water for the first time. It took a lot of hard work and a lot of hard work and a lot of time. Number 4 is nothing magic about good lighting. If you're in the lighting business, that may be a good subject. And you may want to show a video of this guy who goes onto a beach with a beach bag and he pulls out all kinds of things out of the beach bag. Very interesting. And as you know, I started off with this particular presentation with the Mike Goodwin, you got 2 things to worry about. Those are good examples of creative video openings. I'll let you be the judge. Look for those, and these are 5 that maybe you can use in time. And those are the things that you have to worry about. You worry about winning, or you worry about losing. You worry about winning, or you worry about losing. And as I said earlier, don't worry about losing too much, because just like in sports, you're going to play another game. You're going to get asked to give another presentation. And when that happens, I hope you learn something from maybe a poor presentation. And if you learned anything, you got to know this. You got to do the hard work, the preparation side. As Sam Huff said, it's those damn practices. That's the hard work. And these are the 3 things that you need to work on in order to give an excellent presentation. Creative opening, meaningful content, and compelling close. I wish you all the best of luck, and give them hell.